Good morning and welcome to the Rabin Report. I'm your host, Elliot Rabin, so get ready to get triggered.
Good morning and welcome to the Rabin Report. I'm Elliot Rabin, your host, and today we have a very, very important show, and let's talk about it. But before I do, I have my expert panel as always: Marshall, Adam, and Daniel. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Good
to
yep. Life is exciting.
Very
Life is
excited.
good.
Awesome. So let's go to our topic right away. Today we're in part 4 of our 5-part series on the U.S. elections. We had planned to discuss freedom of speech and Bill C-51 after learning that next week is Social Justice Week at Ryerson, we completely changed our programming schedule. As such, we will be rounding up everything about the elections, including the best debates and best scandals, and much more. So let's get right to it. To begin, I'm going to get individual responses from our panelists and move to a debate later on in the show, just because it's a very special episode and it's going to be done a bit differently. There we go. That's a better shot. Okay. So let's start with you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning with the candidates. Also, we have time limits on each thing, so let's keep it short. We have 5 minutes for this first question, so I'll let each of you have about a minute. So beginning with the candidates, did you believe that the running candidates would be the ones chosen to represent their parties? Daniel.
I think it would probably most realistic to have Hillary Clinton be the nomination for the Democrats. Donald Trump, in the beginning, you couldn't really tell, and obviously it was a surprise of that particular Republican nomination to see Donald Trump. People were probably assuming that it was going to be Jeb Bush or even potentially maybe John Kasich, but probably not. I don't think so. But Donald Trump makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall, we'll go to you next.
Well, again, Hillary Clinton was for sure a shoo-in. When it comes to the Republicans, when Trump first announced he was running, he has run for president before. This isn't the first time, and I thought it was going to be a repeat of what had happened before. I thought there was no way that the GOP would take him seriously. I thought, I was hoping it would be Rand Paul. As everyone knows, I love Rand Paul. But I thought it was going to be Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was the most realistic guy for me. But then, once Trump started gaining momentum and he started putting out policy and he started showing his prowess for debating, then, that there was no one else it could be, really.
Okay, next we have Adam. What's your take?
Well, as many of you know, I'm a very big Bernie Sanders fan. And there was a moment in the primaries that he had won a string of about 6 or 7 primaries that I thought he might have a chance of being the Democratic nominee. And I really hope that he would have gotten the nomination. I knew it was going to be Hillary Clinton, but I had hope for Bernie Sanders. As far as Republicans go, I honestly thought that the Republicans were going to choose someone very stable without any controversy, especially after Mitt Romney's controversy in the 2012 election. His Mormonism came a lot into light, and I thought they were just going to go with a very kind of bland sort of boiled rice approach. So I thought it was going to be Marco Rubio for a while. I know he hadn't won a lot. The only state he won, I believe, was Minnesota. Minnesota? Yeah.
And he lost his own state.
And he
as
lost
well,
his own
which is
state.
ridiculous.
But at the beginning, I thought it was going to be him, especially after the Iowa caucus, because they all won equal amounts of delegates. So I thought it was going to be him or then Ted Cruz, but I did not think it was going to be Donald Trump.
At first, Ted Cruz seems like he's a viable option.
Yeah.
And then after, obviously, you got to do a lot more research into every particular candidate. And I think the problem was, when he starts saying, certain things that are, offensive and stuff like that. Like an example, like being like the Islamophobia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even if Donald Trump has said some stuff like
Yeah.
that, it's just it didn't sound hateful.
Cruz was actually
So-
more extreme. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So now, in terms of the debates for each one of you, I'll start with Marshall this time. Which debate was the most memorable and why? As in best insults, best moderators, most entertaining, and yeah, what's your response
Well,
to that?
Anytime you have Donald Trump speaking, it's going to be a good time. You know, when it comes to entertainment value, obviously that's not what we're going for here, but that is just a massively important thing to so many people. Anything with Donald Trump is going to be very entertaining. All three debates was just full of a lot of great Trump lines, Trump retorts to Hillary. I think most people can agree that Chris Wallace was the best moderator. I think
100%.
he had the real hard-hitting questions, the meat and potatoes of the election, and I think he did his job as moderator the best. And then when it comes to content of what the two candidates said and how they both performed, I think despite some of the good moments of the second debate where you had your Ken Bone and your because you'll be in jail, you know, it was a pretty boring debate. The first and just the content that came from both of them was just not hard hitting, wasn't meaningful. But the first and third debates, they both said a lot of meaningful and important things.
Okay, we'll move to Adam now. Adam, what are your thoughts on the best debate?
I think that, you know, we all the last three recent candidate debates are all in memory, but I feel like we have to go back and touch on the primary debates, because I felt that a lot of them had good zinger moments and good memorable moments, from Trump calling Jeb Bush too weak, and I believe it was Rand Paul that tried to sort of debunk the sort of idea that people had of the Republican Party that they're trying to vet out all Muslims. It was like, no, that's not what we're doing. You had John Kasich being very kind of pro-women's rights. You had Bernie Sanders, you know, telling the cameras that the American people are tired of hearing about her damn emails. And even debates like Martin O'Malley, when Martin O'Malley was like, you don't need a submachine Uzi to defend yourself, when he was trying to justify the ban of semi-automatic weapons. This is what formed the candidates that we have today. A lot of Bernie Sanders ideas, you know, sort of merged in with Hillary Clinton's campaign. A lot of the other Republicans that were in the debates that dropped out started to either support Trump or Trump
It's a tactic to get more demographics,
Exactly,
though.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of those are memorable, but obviously the second town hall debate for me was the most memorable one for the Republicans.
Okay, and Adam, sorry, not Adam, Daniel, what's your take on it?
Sorry, what was the question again about the debates? Which one was more important?
Yeah, which debate was the most entertaining? Best insults, best moderators. Which was the most memorable for you?
I personally think the second debate was the most entertaining for the sole purpose that it had two moderators, and although I did not agree with the attack, that like the personal attack they had on Donald Trump, because it's just unfair to personally like, attack and be biased towards one political candidate, regardless of your political views. I feel like that was the one debate where they actually discussed more more actual politics and their policies and their issues, and they weren't being as like they were like attacking each other, but you can kind of get to what they were kind of saying. You kind of were able to understand it wasn't just a one-on-one attack and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have some time left. So what did you guys think? We don't have any audio of it, but what did you guys think of the Al Smith dinner? It didn't get as much coverage as I think it should have, because it was pretty damn funny. Basically, the Al Smith dinner is in memory of a man named Al Smith, about raising money for Catholic children that don't have, the ability to go to school. Is that right? Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's,
and so,
Catholic charity.
so he invited both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and it was a religious event, right? Organized by religious leaders, but basically they turned it into a roast of each other, and it was pretty good. So this time I'll start with Adam. What did you think of that, and do you have any best lines?
Look, I'm all for stuff like that. I think that, stuff like the White House Correspondents' Dinner and stuff like that, it's all in good fun. It's all in good taste. There's nothing wrong with it. But more important for me, the Al Smith dinner was a reminder that Clinton and Trump are very close friends. They're part of the same circle of people. They were friends, and their children were friends before this election. I think that they still are friends, and they're just putting on sort of this mean face for the cameras and such. They sat one seat away from each other. Donald Trump, as a gentleman, moved Hillary Clinton's seat out before she sat down. They smiled at each other, they clapped for each other, they shook hands. Like, this is, the elitist dinner. It's a fundraiser. This is where the top 1%, sorry to sound like Bernie Sanders, but this is where the top 1% go and sit for events. And it's just kind of a reminder of that, and people kind of forget that, in different interviews, Trump would say that, Clinton would make a great president and such. So they're not that different after all. Obviously, my favorite joke was when Trump made fun of his wife.
Yeah.
When he was like, Michelle Obama, 4 years ago, great speech. My wife makes the same speech, and people hate on her for it. And I found that really funny, even though it was heavily scripted. But still, all in good fun.
Now I'll go to Daniel next. What are your thoughts on the Al Smith dinner?
To be honest, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I didn't really pay attention as much to it. Maybe just like a little bit of coverage and stuff like that. Like, I was just more focused on education and studying and stuff. But I thought it was interesting. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a very good idea that dinner was used. Like, it's a good way to make everything in a lighter sense, and like not to focus only on the election, that there's other positives. Like, we don't have to be only strictly focusing on the election. And it's a very good cause, and I understand that. So I think like maybe like some of Donald Trump's jokes were they were okay. Obviously they were scripted, like Adam said, but the key thing was, I think the one memorable moment I saw was like Donald Trump made some particular joke, and one of the men behind him just reacted to his joke, and he just had full on like eyes completely open, his mouth like he like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe he said that. He's like, oh my god, like that was hilarious. That's the one thing I was like, that's pretty good. But it's good. I couldn't even tell you too much about Hillary Clinton either. I forget what she said and stuff like that. It wasn't as memorable.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. I think like, just Hillary Clinton doesn't have that like wow factor in order to say something more.
She doesn't have the impact.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, she can't really say anything like that.
And she's boring, and that's always been one of her downfalls.
Exactly.
So my thoughts on the Al Smith dinner. I thought. Sorry, I didn't already go. No,
No, you didn't.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
The jokes were good. I mean, you can tell which ones were written by the candidates, which ones were written for the candidates, especially with Donald.
Yeah.
I really liked the one where, like Adam said, where Trump made the joke at the expense of his wife. However, I think they both got a bit too far at times. When Trump had said Hillary deceives the people by having one public policy and one private policy. For example, here she is tonight pretending not to hate Catholics. That was super awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
And then when Hillary said, it'll be awkward when the former presidents gather at the White House for the presidential photo. How is Barack going to get through the Muslim ban?
Oh,
And yeah, that was, the whole place just went silent.
that's something else.
I mean, like at roasts, obviously people like will go as far as they'll push the envelope. However, that was just awkward. This is a bunch of old Catholic men, like,
Yeah, you can't push the envelope too far.
Yeah.
With Catholic men.
Okay, so yeah, we're so far we're on time. Let's go to the next question. Well, this is okay. So I'm about to get really triggered here. This question is very personal, and I will answer it myself. The question is, can Trump be compared to Hitler? The answer is no. Absolutely not. He has said some things that are considered racist and sexist, of course, but comparing him to someone that is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jewish people, it's extremely ignorant and irresponsible for anyone to think and say that. In terms of policies, any argument can be made whether he is mostly related to, his policies are mostly related to Hitler's or Hillary's are most related to Hitler's, but comparing the two people side by side is just unacceptable. It's an issue that's very, very dear to me, just because it's so infuriating. You're disrespecting the 6 million Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust by comparing Donald Trump, who has said some things, okay? Not necessarily I agree with those things, but he has not murdered anybody. So let's not go there. That was my off the record thing, even though we're on the record. But yeah, I really needed to get that out. And yeah, I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Here's what's interesting about that is, of course, I would never. I mean, from the beginning, even before I liked Donald Trump, even back when I thought he was awful, people comparing him to Hitler is actually what sparked my interest in him, because, I always thought that was just such a terrible thing to say about somebody. Obviously, this man is not. I mean, it's a terrible accusation, and I started researching Trump's policies and. Just for the sole purpose of being able to defend him from the people baselessly calling him a Nazi and things like that. And that's where I discovered that I liked his policies. I was so it's the detractors, the Trump detractors, who made a Trump fan out of me.
The deplorables.
Yeah. And so when it comes to that, I noticed that you said Trump says things, but he hasn't murdered anybody.
Yeah.
And I've used that argument too. And people who I've said that to have brought up the interesting point that Hitler hadn't murdered people until after he was in office, and so that gave me some thinking.
Well,
however,
there's a future possibility, right?
I mean, you could say that with anybody. There's just no reason to say that. It's completely baseless. You could say the same thing about Bernie Sanders. You could say, well, like Bernie Sanders might have his concentration camps. You don't know. Like Hitler didn't do that until he was in office.
Murder the 1%. You never know.
Yeah. It's completely baseless, and you could say the same thing about anybody. And where I think it started was with the Muslim database, and Trump made a non-committal comment saying that he would be open to having a database of Muslim Americans. When CNN and MSNBC got a hold of that, they started spinning it as Trump's going to make every single Muslim in America wear a badge like the Jews had to do in Nazi Germany. And I think that, and they knew what they were doing. That wasn't an innocent mistake. Yeah. They knew what they were doing. They saw an opportunity to make Trump look like a Nazi, and they took it.
Look, I cringe when I say it because I'm ashamed of myself. But when Trump came into light, I was a very much one of those left-wing haters that you all hear about. I would share every AJ Plus post about, comparing him to a Nazi and bringing out fascism in him and all these terrible things. And, my mother is Jewish, and I do have a Jewish connection. I've been to Yad Vashem in Israel. My family left Romania when Hitler invaded the Sudetenland because they thought that would be the end of it. So one went to what was then known as Palestine. The others went to South America. Look, you cannot make that kind of comparison, point blank and simple. There's a limit about how far you can hate Donald Trump. Sure, you might think he's an Islamophobic, homophobic, racist, cool, whatever. Paint him in any color, misogynist, ugly, disgusting, pig. Go for it. Paint him in any color you want. But the one name you cannot give him is Adolf Hitler. It's it's incredible that anybody could make that comparison. like Hitler, the progression against the vetting of Jews in Germany and in surrounding states by the time the Nazi Party had come to rise. First it started with seizing assets, then you can't go to certain stores, then there were curfews, then there was the
It was
badges,
practically a
then there was
segregation, right?
the ghettos, then there was the concentration camps, then there was all these experiments and whatever. Do you think Trump is really going to do that with Muslims? It's
The thing-
2016.
That's the thing, and with
Gotta love
Hitler
the Trudeau comments.
with Hitler, the Holocaust might not have happened in different times.
Yeah.
Right. So,
In fact,
continue. Sorry.
you can make the argument that the Holocaust is the reason why everybody is so up in arms of the treatment of Muslims, because they're watching. They're like, hey, this could go back to Nazi Germany. Like, whoa, even before anything has happened yet, there's discrimination, and people are like, whoa, listen, we're targeting a specific minority. PSA, ping, like red alert kind of thing. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Anyway,
That's okay.
it's
just
I'm triggered. I'm sorry.
like it's just it's so troubling, and I can't really blame people for thinking that just because it's the media that influences people's decisions, and sometimes you're just caught all up in it, and you really don't know who or what to believe. But in all honesty, it's very troubling. I don't even have words to express
Yeah,
how
that's-
how
I'm
much it
stuttering.
affects like me personally and you as well. Just with
Yeah.
that, with the Jewish background that and
Not
obviously
even as a Jew to
like
realize that
exactly
this
not
is
to
insane.
realize, right? I'm just perspective wise.
Yeah.
Because obviously you don't have to be Jewish to comment on something relating
Yeah.
to Jewish affairs, and that's
And it
That wouldn't
is
be
so
fair, but-
just offensive to Jews to make that comparison.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know every single Jew in the world. I have a lot of Jewish friends though, and you talk to any Jewish person most of the time, they will not appreciate that that comparison.
to say the least.
even Jews who support Hillary would not appreciate
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like who are you helping? You're not doing anybody.
Quick question though,
help.
but what is Hillary's like ethnic makeup? Does she have any type of Jewish heritage?
I know Trump is
No.
a
don't think
no.
so.
She's a Methodist, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a
yeah.
Methodist, and Trump is a
She's a
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian.
there-
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a division of the Catholic Church.
And the Clintons have been in America for a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, you did mention that in the previous show.
I was talking about the Bushes.
Sorry,
but
yeah.
I mean,
but
both
like
of
terms
them.
of political families will have like long lasting
Yeah.
ties into the country.
Bill Clinton was a senator for Arkansas. For what I know about Arkansas, it's part of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
I believe.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they are.
Yeah.
Religion is very ingrained in there.
See, I think like
belief
one of the most
system.
interesting parts when people try to like compare politicians to like other politicians and stuff like that is like you can do that for almost anybody. Like,
Yeah.
just because like an example like Bernie Sanders has some socialist ideas doesn't mean you're going to compare him with like Nazism or you're going to
Yeah.
compare him with fascism.
People try to do that
Yeah,
as
and
well.
like, no, I'm just saying like it's wrong for no matter who you do it to. No matter if you do it to Donald Trump, no matter if you do it to Hillary Clinton.
like
Yeah.
Sorry, quickly.
It's
I
just-
just want to
mhm. Yeah,
add
go
one
ahead.
more thing. Part of that AJ Plus video that I was talking about was comparing Donald Trump to fascism because he tweeted a Mussolini quote.
Mhm.
I can tweet a Mussolini quote. Does that make me a fascist? No.
No. You could be retweeting just to show the ignorance.
Exactly. I could
Right?
be even doing that. You don't know the context.
But people are so quick to judge.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, fascist," And yeah, so I just wanted to add that, like the reach that the media is trying to get at is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's a good
yeah.
point. What was
Okay.
the next question you want to talk
So
about?
yeah, let's move on to a less triggering question. I mean, so let's talk about the polls.
Oh.
Before we go to our analysis of the legitimate polls, as in Fox News, CNN, these types of actual news organizations, and Pew Research and all that, we had a Facebook poll, and we had 100 people surveyed at random. And so here are some statistics. Let's just look at it. So we had 61 males, 33 females, and 6 people who identify as other. And our age range, 82%, meaning 82 people, were between the demographic of 18 to 29, just because that's, the people
It's good to hear, though.
who reach our Facebook page, even though we've shared it everywhere. And results-wise, they had the options Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, and other. So Hillary Clinton got 36% of the votes. Donald Trump got 28% of the votes. And others, some of which were a little trolly, but they got 27%.
Yeah.
Gary Johnson got 6%, and Jill Stein got 3%. And people gave different reasons for why they chose, who they chose. I also have some statistics I found from this poll. 36% of the male supporters support Trump, and that's the majority of the men, whereas 45% of women support Hillary, which is the majority of the female supporters. But just answer-wise, like some just going, flying
Yeah.
to whatever. Some answer like none are great. Somebody said, because I do not live in the U.S., I have not properly studied them in depth, but from what I understand, I would not support any of them. So that's somebody who wrote undecided. Whereas, here's 3 arguments about different candidates. Stein, for example, has been my candidate for years, and the Green Party has always been my affiliation of choice. An argument for Johnson, I like where Johnson stands on social issues such as gay rights and guns, while also supporting his responsible fiscal spending and lower tax policy. He seems like a genuinely likable and nice guy, which is important. And this is somebody who supports Trump. Trump is the only one who can make America rule great again, as I solemnly believe he will improve the American market by making it a more domestic-oriented country that fuels its own economy, as opposed to being dependent on other countries. And just to be fair, I'm going to find somebody who supports Hillary and wrote it. For example, give me something. Sorry, I'm trying to find one. Okay, Hillary's a proven civil servant whose current platform is built off of progressive social ideologies I can firmly support. While I'm weary of her support of trade deals, I have a strong disbelief in the concept of trickle-down economics. So that's just some of the answers that we got in our poll, and I want
trickle-down economics.
Yeah, and I want to thank everybody who did fill it out, because it actually helped us a lot. We were aiming for 100, so now let's look at actual different research that our panelists did. So this time I'll start with Daniel. What information did you gather?
Well, I just looked up quickly through the domestic websites, and I saw CBC Canada and their polls right now about Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, and it's pretty surprising to see that. Well, actually, it's not as surprising, because given with the media's coverage of an attack on Donald Trump and stuff like that, showing Hillary Clinton winning right now in terms of the polls, because we see right now it says Hillary Clinton has 323 projected votes opposed to Donald Trump's 215, and you can see even through there's a certain map. I think that's one of the most interesting parts I like about these type of geographical political maps and data, is you see mostly Republican voters are surrounded in the Midwest and in the center of the country, whereas the West Coast and the East Coast, where you typically have more a larger Democrat demographic, and that's always very interesting to see. And it's pretty cool like that. That was one particularly from CBC. Right here, there's another one here where it has a 5-point differential. I can't say that word properly. There's a 5-point difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, showing that Hillary Clinton has a 46.1% and Donald Trump has 40.4%. And that was from the New York Times, this second one that I'm talking about. There's another one here called Real Clear Politics. I wasn't paying attention too much on that one. I saw this one, though, where it's actually just asking general people questions about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's views. And it talks about certain issues I see. Regardless of who you support we're trying to be as objective as possible, who do you think will win the presidential election this November? From particular dates, you typically see most of the people here are supporting Hillary Clinton. So at a certain percentage, it was 68% people thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, regardless if they actually were a Republican or a Democrat. And then they lowered it all the way to 55%. So you see that all of these debates and all of these media coverage has a lasting impact on changing people's views, and that's good to see. Because you shouldn't be 100% concrete about a voter and stuff like that. Imagine if like you're only like Donald Trump's views, and regardless of what you see on the media, and it hasn't swayed you at all, you have to doubt and stuff like that. You need a second opinion. You need more information to always develop a
You
good.
always have to critically think about
for
what
sure.
you read.
One thing about this though is like when they're talking about like certain political issues that stand out in the debates, they're saying, I'm going to mention a few issues for each of them, and do you think Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump would better handle that issue as president? People think that Donald Trump would handle the economy much better than Hillary Clinton, and they also think that Donald Trump would handle terrorism to a much more effective standpoint.
I can even agree with that.
Yeah, and they were saying how Hillary Clinton would better handle immigration, and that Hillary Clinton would better handle foreign policy. So with those four different like views, you can kind of see how different their political opinions are, but there are certain pros and cons to every single thing. I can definitely see Donald Trump, like maybe if he would get elected, trying to focus on domestic, on trying to improve the economy, and how like he's always trashed like NATO and NAFTA and stuff like that, and you rather focus on getting more taxes in order to bring the economy, and that's cool. And Donald Trump would just would have like this almost rule with an iron fist personality and trying to handle terrorism, and just like he doesn't want to like have any red tape. He just wants to get whatever objective done, and just to like do stuff like that. And I can definitely see Hillary Clinton has a more general appeal to like visible minorities, and that's how they could handle immigration issues better. And since Hillary Clinton's like appointment as Secretary of State, and she's like unfortunately she hasn't that good diplomatic views with Putin and stuff like that, but I can see like her like working with other countries in a much more effective way, as Donald Trump will just be like head bashing with other foreign leaders and stuff like that. That's what I saw in terms of polls, and it's always interesting to see this type of information, but it's just numbers more than anything too, you know.
You wanna
Let's go to Marshall next.
Well, really, all of the major polls are showing Clinton in the lead. Some of them seem a bit ridiculous. I'm seeing the AP GFK poll. I'm not sure what that is. I've actually never heard of it, but I mean it's on New York Times list of the major polls. Clinton's got a 14-point lead.
Okay.
I think that's a bit
that's a
odd.
bit
And then the USA Today poll, which Clinton's got a 10-point lead in, that's also a bit incredulous. So I'm seeing more likely ones like the Rasmussen one where Clinton has a 1-point lead, TIPP, Clinton has a 2-point lead, even CNN's poll where Clinton has a 5-point lead. That's believable. I'm seeing that there's a problem with the polling. A lot of people I've spoken with through Twitter and Facebook who are voting in the U.S. haven't been polled. I think polls are just not the best way to look at who's going to win. They have been accurate to a certain degree. I think they've been accurate when we've not been in an election as crazy as this. I think this election you can't go by this. Interestingly, I was reading about a professor. You guys may have also read this.
A U of T?
No.
Okay.
That's a one for a different story. So this is a professor named Helmut Norpoth. He is from.
This guy's the one that predicted almost every election. Right?
Every
With
election
like
except
surprising
for one.
accuracy.
Yeah, every
Okay.
single election except for one.
Which
he's
one was
from,
it?
Actually, doesn't say.
He doesn't say. Whatever. I mean, that's accurate enough, right?
Yeah.
Oh, with the exception of 2000.
Okay.
Oh, nobody.
Nobody saw
That was
coming.
Al
Gore.
Al
and
Gore and
Bush.
Bush.
Yeah.
So he's from New York University, and he says that Trump will win because of Trump's performance in the primaries, which is a great argument, I think. I think, really, who was the star of the primaries? Of course, it was Trump.
Yeah.
Hillary was just, barely scraped by in terms of the not in terms of winning the nomination, but in terms of approval, how much people liked her. No one liked her.
For someone
Everybody
that's
likes
been in the public eye for so long to have Bernie Sanders come within a hair of beating her, it's really something.
But yeah, of course, Sanders is never going to win the nomination. That's just the way
We knew
the
that. I knew
DNC
that.
works.
You know it. I know it.
And not because he was
Everybody
not the better candidate, but that's how the DNC works. They are not obligated to go by public vote. They're obligated. They don't have any obligation. They do what they want.
Yeah.
It's a private organization. So looking at these polls, very, very pessimistic for Trump. However, I'm not going to rule out a Trump victory just because this has been such a crazy election, and anything can happen. And one more point I have. I'm shocked that we are at the same level in polls that we were in February. I think that these videos, these emails, all these things from WikiLeaks coming out about Clinton would have affected her polling a little bit.
Yeah.
But not in the same way.
I'm a little
whatsoever.
disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, like the O'Keefe videos that came out that proved that the DNC was organizing disruptions. The disruptions at the Trump rallies. They were organizing the riots.
Yeah, they paid people.
I can't believe that the public is not taking this into account, and maybe they are, and the polls just aren't showing it. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Look, this election has actually opened my mind a lot to the Democratic versus Republican ideology base and whatnot. I wanted to bring up a poll that was done in 1980 during the Carter and Reagan election. On October 26th in 1980, 2 weeks before the election, the Gallup poll, which is one of the more known ones, had Jimmy Carter at 47% and Ronald Reagan at 39%. The election actually ended up being one of the greatest landslides in history that Carter actually conceded before California was closed. And the final tallies ended up being 51 Reagan, Carter 41. So, and this is 2 weeks before the election as well. 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it was, 36 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, 36 years ago yesterday. I didn't feel like doing the math. Thank you, Marshall. That wasn't sarcastic, by the way.
I know.
Even with the Gore and Bush election and with the Dukakis
Everybody thought Gore was gonna
Reagan
win,
election,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in a heartbeat. If you want to bring it back to Canada, Mulcair was leading for a while. Harper was leading for a while. And then a week before the election, the red wave happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know Canadian politics is boring, but anyway. Polls don't even say much. You want to go back to the primaries. If anybody remembers the Michigan Democratic primary, people called it for Clinton like almost from the beginning, and then Sanders came out and just trumped her.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he went 50-48 in Michigan. Polls don't mean a lot. And going off what Marshall was saying, this election has been crazy. The Trump videos came out 3 weeks before the election. The Podesta emails came out around the same time. Who knows what can happen from now until November 8th? I campaigned for Olivia Chow during the mayor race. And she was also leading for a while. And, I was one of the few volunteers that went down with the ship instead of going to Tory's campaign. And the polls didn't matter up until like 3 or 4 days before the election. And that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for like the last poll that CNN will do going into the election. And I'm even looking at the states that are voting early and seeing how that's going. Like in North Carolina.
If you could predict like a poll differential, like how much you think it is? Like right now, let's say right now
I
it's at 5%.
still think Clinton is going to win, but I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than people make it out to be.
Yeah, because Marshall was bringing out numbers of like 1 or 2% difference.
Yeah.
I think that's a realistic possibility.
There are a lot of toss-up states this election, like big ones like Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Is California still? Oh,
No, California's
I
never been a toss-up. Well, maybe it has. I don't know.
No,
Now,
what I meant is like it's a guaranteed.
Like
What,
Florida, 29 delegates. Texas, 38. Pennsylvania, 20. Like Ohio, 18. These are big states that Trump can get.
Georgia Georgia says it's,
Yeah,
it's a battleground
Georgia
too.
16.
Yeah.
Georgia used to be a Democrat state. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Jimmy Carter is a Georgia
Yeah.
senator.
Now I just have one more point. I do know that we have to move on soon, but
Yeah.
now a lot of people disagree with me on this, and feel free to. I think that Trump is going to bring out a lot of people who don't usually vote, and I think that's exactly what Justin Trudeau did.
Yeah.
And no one agrees with me on this. I think that
Justin
he's gonna,
Trudeau bringing out like young voters.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Trump's
Yeah.
going to bring out the blue collar workers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, people were saying that more people vote for Trump than for Clinton. Like just in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you even see like the comparison with the rallies as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like in terms of how
Clinton
much
had
of
to
the rally.
cancel a rally in Ohio because of lack of interest.
I was
There were-
watching some video from Infowars actually, and like there was like some. I think Infowars, I guess you could say, is like an American version of the Rebel Media. Is it slightly conservative?
No, but
No?
it is conservative. Yes,
Okay, so it's not as like satirical and stuff like that. They're more doing some show.
it's kind of apples to oranges. But yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
My point like that's not what I'm trying to say. My point being is like they went to one of those like a rally, I think, and there's going to be lots of different events where Hillary Clinton was supposed to be there, and they have all of these different Democratic all these different Democrat, what do you call them? They're just like
Delegates?
business. No,
Insiders. business?
Insiders.
they're just hubs like for people
Yeah.
to like for volunteer hubs and stuff like that. And nobody's there
Yeah.
whatsoever. Nobody's
Yeah.
helping volunteer
Yeah.
or anything like that. Like you just see a couple old people and that's it.
Yeah.
All right, we got to move
So,
on now.
Yeah, so we do have to move on to our next thing. Very quickly, just name it without any explanation. Each of you, what is both Trump and Clinton's best and worst quality, as in election-wise, and how it could affect them? So let's start with Adam this time.
For Trump, I think that his best quality is being against the establishment, trying to uproot the system that everybody's been screwed by for years now. His worst trait, I think, is just his personality. People find him slimy.
His temperament.
His temperament, but he has the best temperament. Yeah, honestly, just that. Like his personal life and his personality is his biggest downfall. Clinton, her worst downfall is I can't trust her, no matter how hard I try. There's one economist that was campaigning a lot with Bernie Sanders, and he said that he's going to vote for Clinton with his nose plugged. And I think that's one of the best ways to describe Democrat voters.
I guess.
You know, and her best quality, I think, is her reach with visible minorities. They trust her. They believe in her.
Marshall, we're gonna go to you.
Trump, I think his best qualities, he's turning the GOP on its head. He has come out with these policies that are so, in my opinion, very in line with what conservatism is, but that the GOP has never liked. And I like that he's changing conservatism. I like that he's changing what it means to be a Republican. Maybe temporarily, maybe permanently, who knows. Worst quality, he's a bit of a buffoon. He has his foot in his mouth. He's just not a very good speaker, and he just absolutely makes an ass of himself so often. And the sniffing.
He does that a lot.
Clinton, I think, well, her worst quality, just like Adam said, you can't trust her. She is so unbelievably corrupt, and it scares me. I mean, I could go on and on about what I don't like about Hillary, but it scares me, the deals she does in the dark, the deception of the people that she has orchestrated, the colluding with the media to frame Trump as some sort of dictator-like figure. Best, I would say, is, I mean, she does have experience. She does have... She's been a Secretary of State, for better or for worse. She's been a First Lady. She's been Governor's wife. I mean, Senator. I mean, for better or for worse, regardless of the fact I don't like what she's done in her experience, she has experience.
And Daniel, very quickly, because we have one last thing.
Donald Trump's best quality would be probably the way he speaks and the way he's able to rally his voters and stuff like that. Like he says regardless if he's saying something controversial, like even sometimes when he says, it says something very powerful and that people understand. His jargon, like the way he speaks is not very, it's simplified in a way so everybody can understand it, no matter what type of demographic you are. His worst quality is the lack of professionalism. I think just the way he his mannerisms and just the way he behaves.
Such a nasty woman.
Hillary Clinton's best quality would have to be her experience, like Marshall said. I think that does make people when they think of a politician, they want to see like what they've done before in order to become the leader of the free world. I think Hillary Clinton's worst characteristic has to be like she's just not very likable.
Yeah.
And she's just not likable.
Awesome. So last week we didn't get a chance. We have to do this really quickly. We're not really going to talk about them. Last week we didn't get a chance to listen to John Oliver's rant on Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, but we have some time now. Let's just listen to the end of how he was describing them. And
an ill-tempered mountain molester with a radical, dangerous tax plan that even he can't defend, or a conspiracy-pandering political neophyte with no clear understanding of how government operates and who once recorded this folk rap about the virtues of bicycling. I feel like we just figured out who or what killed Biggie and Tupac. And
mic's back on. That was his final remarks about the two candidates. In reality, they really have. Let's put it this way: they don't have a shot at this point. It's just between Hillary and Trump. But yes,
I do like how Gary Johnson thinks he's like, we are the first vote. Like, that's funny.
But yes or no, it would be interesting to include them in the presidential debates.
Oh, for sure.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Especially
Yes.
Gary.
Awesome.
I think Jill Stein would. No, I feel like Jill Stein's like, I don't know the way she speaks, but like she's probably the most like
genuine.
yeah, she sounds the most genuine.
she's sweet.
Yeah,
She's not.
she's nice.
Oh, look at you.
You know, and yeah, she's talked
Yeah.
about vaccines and all that, but like just she's not. She doesn't seem as corrupt as
Yeah, but
you know,
my
as
problem with
everybody else.
my problem with like Jill Stein is like she's very like she can't really like if
She's
she
a
has a
hippie.
particular view, she won't stick to it, and neither will
Yeah,
Gary
she's a
Johnson.
hippie.
Yeah, they'll fall back
Well, I mean,
if somebody goes against them. you know?
Gary Johnson, it's not that he flip-flops, it's that he has these views, these very strong convictions that he can't defend.
Yeah.
He, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it, but when he was asked about what he'll do about climate change, look in the long run,
With the sun's
Oh, yeah,
gonna
the sun's
gonna
going
explode.
to
Let's start with-
evaporate the earth,
Start with what he's going to do about Aleppo. That's
Yeah.
my question.
What is Aleppo?
That's like saying in the beginning of the Republican nominations, like, guys, really? The presidential nominations, like a year and a half away. Let's not even worry
Yeah.
about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun, I think. Like Ross Perot in the debates in '92, I believe. That was a good addition. He was the last independent that made it to the debates, and yeah, I think it was all for the best.
And I mean, I was
Yeah.
a Johnson guy for years. It was only in my first year of university when I was hearing the things he was saying, and I was reading his policies. And his policies look very good until you see them backed up. Until you see him try and explain them, or you see anyone try and explain them. Because Trump, he can't explain his own policies, but someone can. No one can explain Gary Johnson's policies. He's got a good heart. He's got good intentions. He just can't
Good
back
temperament.
up
Good
any of
temperance.
his policies, and he doesn't have a good temperance. He has had meltdowns
Oh, yeah.
worse than Trump. It makes it really ruins the libertarian label. I'm not a libertarian per se, but I'm very libertarian leaning, and it really ruins that for a lot of people.
Perfect. And our last question, yes or no? Oh, sorry, not yes or no, but which one? Who do you think will win? Daniel,
Clinton.
Clinton, Marshall.
I'm gonna say Trump. Just gonna,
Okay. And
I don't know.
Adam?
I honestly don't know.
You gotta give one. Come on.
Okay, you know what? Honestly, I think Clinton will
Okay.
win.
Clinton.
But Trump has a chance.
What about you, man? It's not who you want to win, it's who you think's gonna win.
Clinton will win, but with a very small margin.
Kind of like in the Quebec referendum.
Yeah.
there's too many X factors.
So
Quickly, sorry, do you think who's going to win the House and the Senate?
I have no
Is
clue.
it going to be both Dem or both
see,
Republican
I feel
or
like
one of each?
I think
I-
like it's going to be one of the most unproductive,
yeah.
big,
I-
Congresses ever.
I love the discussion, but we have to go.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be talking about Social Justice Week at Ryerson. And after that, we'll have our
Republicans gonna control the House.
post-election show. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank everybody who filled out our poll, and I want to thank our panelists for
Thank you for having
me.
partaking
Thank you.
Thanks for
us.
having us, Elliot.
Watch the Rabin Report live Thursdays at 11. Also, make sure to check out our Facebook page because something special might happen. All right,
Cool.
thank you.
All right. Thanks.